Hi, I'm Lena here at Money Management International, a full-service, nonprofit credit counseling and housing organization. I'm here to talk to you about renter responsibilities. At the end of this video, you should be able to identify basic responsibilities of tenants and landlords, learn to execute and terminate a lease agreement, and identify strategies for successfully resolving disputes. Let's start with some information about application approval. Some rental companies or landlords thoroughly screen those who apply. If you have encountered obstacles in the past obtaining and maintaining tenancy, there are some options for you. You can receive long-term rental housing assistance through the Housing Choice Voucher Program and the Project-Based County Rental Assistance Program. It's a good idea to apply to both programs as there are wait lists. To apply for the Housing Choice Voucher Program, contact the local PHAs in the area you're interested in living. You can find the PHAs by going to HUD.gov and typing in the search bar rental help and then the state in which you are looking. For the County Rental Assistance Program, you can apply directly to the property manager. Before you apply to these programs, it's best to make sure you have all of your ducks in a row, address all of the issues that may concern potential landlords. Let's take a look at some common obstacles to renting and tips to overcome them. Low income. You will be asked to verify your monthly income by showing your paycheck stubs or other documents. If the stated monthly rent exceeds 30% of your gross monthly income, your application might be rejected. Here are some tips to overcome this obstacle. Expand the area in which you are looking for housing. Find a roommate that is dependable and responsible. Apply for housing assistance programs and move in with family or friends and help pay their rent. Unpaid debts. If unpaid debts such as utilities show up on your credit report, landlords may deny the application. Be sure to pay off any unpaid utilities to improve your credit. Insufficient savings. There are many upfront costs tied to renting. In order to be able to pay these, you should have sufficient savings. Some of these upfront costs include credit report fee, security deposit, first and last month's rent, moving expenses, appliances, utility connection fees, and outstanding utility bills. Let's take a closer look at each of these. A credit report fee is charged when a landlord pulls your credit report. Sometimes this fee can be tied together in the overall application fee. A security deposit is usually due once you sign the lease. The money is returned to you when the lease is terminated as long as there are no damages to the unit or other violations to the terms of the lease. The rent for first and last month of the rental period is usually due up front when you sign the lease. There are many expenses tied to moving. Renting a vehicle, hiring movers, and packing material are just some of the expenses you might encounter. Not all rentals come with everything you will need. You may have to purchase appliances that are not provided. Sometimes when you transfer the utility bill to your name from the previous tenant's name, a charge may incur. If you have outstanding bills from your previous rental, you will have to pay that debt before the utility company will start a new service for you in your new rental. Here are some tips to help you overcome insufficient savings. Use budgets and plan ahead. You can ask friends and family to help you move. Buy second-hand appliances and rent from individual landlords instead of management companies. Individual landlords may negotiate lower prices or waive various upfront costs. Poor credit history. Some information on your credit report that might concern a landlord would be history of late payments, collections or judgments, low credit score, and bankruptcy or foreclosure. Be sure to communicate with the landlord to let them know the steps you've taken to correct the issues they see. You can also explain the reasons for the issues. Unfavorable rental history. Trust may be hard to earn if you've been evicted from other rental properties or have no rental history at all. Some tips to overcome unfavorable rental history are to obtain a letter from a friend or relative who you previously lived with and paid rent to. You can also get a reference from a landlord with whom you had a good relationship with. And lastly, You can obtain a letter from a housing counselor stating that you have participated in tenancy counseling and are aware of your responsibilities and rights. Bank account overdrafts. Trust may also be hard to earn if your bank account shows a history of overdrafts leading to bounced checks and other issues. Once again, communication with your landlord is very important. If you let them know you have taken a financial management educational course, you can have a housing counselor confirm your participation. Let's dive into information about lease agreements. Once you have found a place that checks all of your boxes, you have to be sure to do everything you can to be an extraordinary tenant and avoid eviction. Always be sure to pay your rent on time. Here are a few suggestions to make sure you accomplish that. Make sure you pay rent before any other expenses. Set up an automatic payment each month in your bank account to ensure rent is paid. Make sure you have a couple months' rent in your savings account in case of sudden unemployment. And keep an eye on your finances at all times so you are familiar with what you have in your accounts. There are two lease types, a written lease and an oral lease. A written lease is a document that states all of the terms by which the property will be rented. This is the most secure way to agree to a lease because it simplifies any conflicts by referring to it. The second type of lease is an oral lease. This is an agreement that is not put in writing and is only discussed verbally. Because nothing is written down, everything must rely on the memories of each person, and that could lead to arguments. When signing a lease, be sure to read it carefully. They can be pages long and confusing. Let's take a look at a couple of important and common components that could be outlined in your lease. Paying rent, paying fees, paying bills for utilities, using the storage area provided, using the parking areas provided, hosting other people, having pets, properly maintaining the property, making changes to the property inside or outside, being mindful of your noise level. Also in the lease, there should be statements regarding your rights as a tenant. Some common rights that will likely be included in your lease are a rental that is clean, safe, and generally habitable, consistent gas and water service, receive a refund of the security deposit, repairs completed in a timely fashion, ample notice before the landlord comes to the property. Renters should also become familiar with their rights under the Fair Housing Act. The Fair Housing Act protects people from discrimination when they are renting, buying, seeking housing assistance, or engaging in other housing-related activities. To learn more about your rights under the Fair Housing Act, check out our Fair Housing video series. Next up, we're going to talk about maintenance responsibilities. In many leases, maintenance responsibilities will be listed. Usually the landlord takes responsibility for most major home repairs. Let's take a look at some common lease components that mention maintenance responsibilities for the landlord and tenant. Tenant responsibilities include taking out the trash, keeping your unit clean and tidy, repair any damage you or a guest cause in the unit. If there is major damage, tell your landlord right away. When you move out, your unit should be nice and neat and in good condition. Landlord responsibilities include inspecting the unit inside and out when needed. Make sure repairs are completed in a timely manner after the tenant submits a work order, ensuring windows and locks within the unit are safe. Landlord responsibilities also include replacing or repairing large appliances or home systems like heaters, stove, refrigerator, etc. Certify that the unit is in compliance with housing codes, and provide fire protection. They should also maintain common areas around the property like hallways, parking lots, decks, etc. Ensure plumbing and heating systems are working properly, and when a new tenant moves in, ensure the home is in good condition. Let's learn more about insurance responsibilities as a renter. Did you know that if a disaster strikes, your landlord's building insurance does not cover your contents? That's right. Their policy would pay to repair the structure, but it would not pay for any contents you lost in the disaster. That's why it's important to obtain renter's insurance for your contents. It's a small monthly premium that can give you peace of mind and protect you financially. Some landlords will require insurance and others might not. It is a good idea to obtain insurance because it offers a large amount of financial security for a monthly premium. Here are some examples of what might be included in your insurance policy. Damage to personal possessions inside the home that have been destroyed by a disaster like lightning, theft, windstorm, water damage, smoke, fire, and more. Examples of what might not be included in your insurance policy are damage due to floods or earthquakes. It's always a good idea to read your insurance policy very carefully. Renters' policies do not cover flood events. Many people are not aware that renters can obtain flood insurance through the federal National Flood Insurance Program, just like homeowners. Visit FEMA.gov or talk to your insurance agent to get more information on protecting yourself during a flood. There are a handful of different coverages for renters insurance. Other options are to use add-ons or riders. Let's learn more. Content coverage is also known as personal possession coverage. With this coverage, the policyholder will be reimbursed if their personal property is destroyed by certain perils. Depending on the policy, you might be reimbursed for damaged household items, musical instruments, clothing, televisions, and other items. If your laptop is stolen by a thief, you should be reimbursed for the value of the laptop. Loss of use coverage. If the home you're living in is damaged by certain perils, for example a fire, you may live in a hotel and claim the funds you spend, including food. Personal liability coverage provides funding up to a certain limit for a lawyer or legal judgment if a policyholder is sued for something that led to a guest's injury. Add-ons are also referred to as endorsements or riders. One common add-on is earthquake coverage. Since most renter insurance policies don't cover damages from earthquakes, if you live in an area where earthquakes are prone to happen, it might be a good idea to purchase an earthquake rider. Another add-on is business merchandise coverage. If you run a business out of your home and have products inside your home that you sell online, this is a good rider to have. The last add-on I'll mention is incidental business liability. This is another rider you should look into if the business you run out of your home brings customers inside. For example, a babysitting business. There are two different kinds of insurance policies, actual cash value and replacement cost. Actual cash value considers how much your item could be worth at the time it was destroyed or damaged. Replacement cost will pay you the amount it would cost to replace the item with a new one. Replacement cost policy has a higher premium. Here's an example of why this policy is actually worth it in the long run. Say your aunt gives you her old washer. It's so old, it's probably worth about $50 or less. With an actual cash value policy, you would only receive $50 and use out-of-pocket cash to pay the rest. With a replacement cost policy, you will get a much bigger check to purchase a new washing machine. The last topic we'll cover regarding renter responsibilities is executing and terminating lease agreements. Before signing a lease, be sure to understand all conditions mentioned in the lease. Verify there are no blank areas in the lease. If the landlord has made any promises, ensure those promises are put in writing. Review all terms and other important dates, like when the rent is due every month. If at any time the landlord or tenant breaks conditions of the lease, the other party has the right to terminate the lease early. Another reason for early termination of a lease could be that you got a new job and you have to move. Each state may have different laws about terminating a lease early. It's a good idea to understand your state's laws. In some states, it is possible for you to terminate a lease without paying rent, only in some circumstances. Like if the landlord breached the conditions in the lease, the property you're living in becomes uninhabitable, or you or your spouse are relocated for military purposes. Always be sure to communicate with your landlord. This can help avoid disputes. You can also document everything so you can look back on your records. Seeking mediation from a company that specializes in tenant-landlord disputes is an option as well. Thank you for joining me to learn more about renter responsibilities. For additional financial wellness topics or to schedule a counseling session, give us a call at 866-889-9347 or visit us online at moneymanagement.org today.